the Joker, the character of the Joker, was just too good to turn down.
Heath Ledger, who, oh my God, what a performance, what a pleasure to have gotten to work with him.
Heath Ledger's transformation into the Joker for The Dark Knight remains one of cinema's most studied performances. From intense isolation and meticulous voice work to improvisation, prosthetics, and psychological preparation, Ledger crafted a character that balanced chaos, menace, and unpredictability, which is still remembered by many today. Here are some behind-the-scenes moments you might not know. Let's get into it. Number 15. Heath Ledger originally wanted to play Batman. Before Heath Ledger ever became synonymous with the Joker, he was initially interested in playing Batman himself, a detail that surprises many people who now see him as the definitive version of the clown prince of crime. At the time Christopher Nolan began casting for The Dark Knight, Ledger had built a reputation for pursuing unconventional roles that demanded emotional depth and bold creative choices. Because of this, he was drawn to the psychological weight behind Bruce Wayne, a character shaped by trauma, discipline, and the constant struggle between his public identity and private burdens. When Ledger met with Nolan, he expressed interest in the role of Batman, seeing it as an opportunity to explore the darker layers of a hero wrestling with his own moral code. However, Nolan already had Christian Bale locked in for the role, having been impressed by Bale's portrayal in Batman Begins. Rather than ending the discussion there, Nolan paid close attention to Ledger's curiosity, intensity, and willingness to dive into complex psychological spaces. These qualities made a strong impression, convincing Nolan that Ledger's instincts aligned more closely with the chaotic energy he envisioned for the Joker. Ledger wasn't disappointed by not getting the part of Batman. Instead, he became excited about the prospect of reinventing the Joker. Nolan wanted a version of the character that broke away from campy portrayals of the past, someone frightening, unpredictable, anarchic, and grounded in realism. Ledger embraced this immediately. He saw the Joker as a role that allowed far more creative freedom, offering space to explore disorder, emotional extremes, and a twisted sense of humor. This unexpected shift from wanting Batman to becoming the Joker ultimately shaped Ledger's legacy. What began as curiosity for the hero role transformed into one of the most influential villain performances in film history. Number 14. Ledger's Joker terrified Michael Caine. Michael Caine, who played Alfred in The Dark Knight, had spent a lifetime working alongside some of the greatest actors in film history, yet nothing truly prepared him for Heath Ledger's interpretation of the Joker. Caine had not been present during earlier scenes featuring Ledger in full costume, so his first real exposure to the complete transformation occurred during the penthouse confrontation sequence. As the elevator doors opened and Ledger stepped out, Caine was confronted with a figure that barely resembled the charming young actor he had met off-set. Ledger moved with an unnerving looseness, his posture bent slightly forward, his steps irregular, almost playful yet threatening. The sound of Ledger's voice, high-pitched one moment and gravelly the next, immediately struck Caine. Ledger delivered his lines with a chilling unpredictability, stretching out certain words while abruptly snapping others, creating a rhythm that felt entirely unnatural. The combination of his smeared makeup, Glasgow smile, and manic physical energy overwhelmed Caine so intensely that he forgot his lines completely, something he later admitted had almost never happened in his long career. Caine described the moment as genuinely frightening, saying Ledger possessed a presence that felt psychopathic, not in a theatrical sense, but in a disturbingly authentic way. He realized instantly that Ledger had created a version of the Joker unlike anything audiences or fellow actors had seen before. The experience gave Caine a deeper appreciation for Ledger's dedication and artistry, showing him the extent of the psychological immersion Ledger had undergone. That single entrance made Caine fully understand why Ledger's Joker was not just a villain, but a force of chaos, unpredictable, magnetic, and deeply unsettling. It became clear that Ledger had elevated the character into something far more dangerous and unforgettable than anyone anticipated. Number 13. First actor to win an Oscar for a villain. Heath Ledger's posthumous Oscar win is often mentioned, but the true significance of that achievement is not fully appreciated. His victory marked a moment when long-standing assumptions about what kind of performances the Academy deemed worthy were challenged in a dramatic way. For decades, the Oscars had largely ignored performances from comic book films, viewing the genre as entertainment rather than serious cinema. Villains, in particular, were rarely considered for major acting awards unless they came from period dramas or grounded thrillers. Ledger's win broke through that barrier entirely. What made his accomplishment so important was the depth and originality he brought to a character typically associated with exaggerated theatrics. Ledger crafted a portrayal built on emotional complexity, psychological nuance, and meticulous creative choices. Rather than leaning on traditional comic book tropes, he delivered a villain shaped by tension, unpredictability, and disturbing charisma. His performance had the narrative weight of a dramatic lead role, which forced critics and award bodies to reconsider the artistic potential of genre characters. The industry took notice. After Ledger's recognition, discussions around comic book films shifted from questions of spectacle to conversations about character study and thematic depth. Studios and directors began to explore whether similarly bold performances could elevate other genre roles. More nuanced antagonists emerged in the years following, and actors became more willing to take on roles in comic book adaptations without fear of being dismissed as doing less serious work. Number 12. He locked himself away to prepare. Heath Ledger's approach to embodying the Joker was nothing short of obsessive, a methodical descent into a character that teetered on the edge of madness. Long before cameras rolled, Ledger retreated into isolation, booking a small, sparsely furnished hotel room in London. For weeks, he remained there, cut off from distractions, immersing himself entirely in the mind of a man driven by chaos. This seclusion was not aimless. It was a deliberate strategy to understand the Joker's fractured psyche and erratic worldview. One of the most iconic aspects of the character, the Joker's laugh, was born from this intense experimentation. Ledger didn't settle for the typical villainous cackle. Instead, he tested dozens of variations, recording himself, replaying, and dissecting each attempt until he discovered a laugh that was simultaneously unnerving, humorous, and unpredictably cruel. It was a laugh that could shift from mirth to menace in a heartbeat, reflecting the Joker's volatile nature. Beyond the laugh, Ledger meticulously explored voice modulation, experimenting with pitch, rhythm, and cadence to give the character a speech pattern that could unsettle and captivate simultaneously. Every pause, stammer, and inflection was considered and refined. Ledger also kept a personal journal throughout this period, filling it with fragmented thoughts, disturbing imagery, and chaotic doodles. These writings were not mere theatrics. They were a tool for accessing the emotional and psychological core of the Joker. By externalizing the character's darkness on paper, Ledger could engage with the psyche of a man consumed by anarchy without endangering his own mental stability. This disciplined exploration enabled him to craft a Joker who felt authentic, a character grounded in psychological realism rather than a one-dimensional villain. The result was a performance that continues to haunt audiences, an embodiment of chaos rendered with extraordinary depth and precision. Number 11. He took inspiration from A Clockwork Orange. One of Heath Ledger's most significant inspirations for the Joker came from studying Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of Alex DeLarge in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. Ledger was captivated by the way McDowell combined menace with charm, creating a character whose unpredictability was both magnetic and terrifying. He closely observed Alex's sharp, almost mechanical movements, the way his body could shift from casual ease to sudden, threatening energy. The sardonic grin, the playful yet cruel gestures, and the unsettling joy in his violence fascinated Ledger, who recognized a kindred approach for the Joker. Ledger wanted to capture a similar duality, a character who could exude mischievous delight in one moment and unleash raw, chaotic violence in the next. He experimented with the Joker's physicality extensively, rehearsing walks, gestures, and posture until they conveyed both fluidity and danger. The subtle tilt of a head, the the quick dart of an eye, or a sudden lunge all became expressions of a mind that thrived on unpredictability. Ledger understood that the Joker's menace could not rely solely on words. His body needed to communicate the same anarchic energy as his speech and expressions. He also incorporated moments of childlike exuberance into the character, creating a jarring contrast between innocence and brutality. A playful skip, a sudden laugh, or a dramatic flourish could disarm and confuse, making the Joker's violence even more shocking. Number 10. He wanted Christian Bale to hit him for real. During the filming of the intense interrogation scene in The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to authenticity, insisting that Christian Bale strike him with genuine force. Ledger believed that for the Joker to feel real on screen, his reactions to pain could not be simulated. They had to convey a mixture of invulnerability, exhilaration, and controlled chaos. He saw the scene not merely as a confrontation between hero and villain, but as a psychological duel where every blow, every jolt carried emotional weight. Ledger's philosophy was that the Joker thrived in chaos and even found energy in physical pain. To embody this, he refused to flinch or shield himself, standing firm as Bale delivered the punches. Ledger argued that only through the physical reality of these hits could the tension and unpredictability of the Joker's character be captured. The harder the strike, the more genuine the reactions, the more the scene would resonate with audiences. On set, Ledger's intensity was palpable. Bale later recalled that Ledger repeatedly encouraged him to hit harder, never breaking character, never softening, and never allowing the performance to feel staged. Ledger's face, his posture, and even the smallest gestures communicated an unsettling enjoyment of the violence, an almost magnetic fearlessness. Crew members noted that the energy between the two actors was electric, a raw and dangerous tension that elevated the scene beyond typical cinematic confrontation. The result is one of The Dark Knight's most unforgettable sequences, a scene that pulses with authenticity and unpredictability. Ledger's insistence on real physicality not only intensified the drama, but also reinforced the Joker's core essence as a character who thrives on chaos, pain, and psychological manipulation. By merging physical rigor with psychological insight, Ledger transformed a scripted encounter into an immersive, almost tangible confrontation that continues to captivate audiences. Number 9. Ledger kept a Joker journal on set. Heath Ledger's private journal became one of the most crucial tools in his preparation for the Joker. Unlike typical actor notes or scripts, this diary was a raw, unfiltered window into the chaotic mind of the character. Ledger filled its pages with disturbing sketches, fragmented phrases, and cryptic scribbles that mirrored the Joker's fractured thought processes. Every entry was an experiment in perspective, written not as Heath Ledger, but as the Joker himself, immersing fully in a mindset where logic twisted into malice. Humor coexisted with cruelty, and unpredictability ruled every action. The content of the journal was as unsettling as it was revealing. Some pages contained grotesque drawings that reflected a fascination with violence and distortion, while others captured darkly comedic ideas or sardonic observations. Ledger used it to map out the Joker's humor, exploring jokes that were cruel, absurd, or horrifying, always pushing the boundaries of conventional morality. Random phrases and word associations peppered the pages, echoing the character's erratic mental state, while chaotic scribbles suggested bursts of manic energy. The journal was not simply a reference, it was a method of inhabiting the Joker's reality, a private space where Ledger could safely explore the depths of instability without losing himself. Crew members who glimpsed the diary described it as both fascinating and unnerving, a tangible manifestation of the psychological foundation Ledger constructed for the role. It demonstrated the actor's extraordinary dedication to character development, showing that the Joker's menace was not the product of superficial theatrics, but of deep, deliberate exploration. By externalizing the character's darkness onto paper, Ledger created a bridge between imagination and performance, allowing him to translate the Joker's chaotic inner world into every gesture, glance, and inflection on screen. In essence, the journal was the blueprint of madness, a private laboratory where the Joker came fully to life. Number 8. He improvised many of his most iconic moments. Heath Ledger's remarkable gift for improvisation became one of the defining elements of his portrayal of the Joker. Unlike many actors who rely strictly on scripted lines, Ledger thrived in the freedom to explore a character in the moment, reacting instinctively to both the environment and his fellow actors. Director Christopher Nolan recognized this talent and encouraged it, allowing Ledger to experiment on set in ways that could not have been fully anticipated during rehearsals. The results were spontaneous, authentic, and often startling, adding layers of unpredictability to every scene. Ledger's improvisation extended far beyond dialogue. Small gestures, shifts in posture, fleeting expressions, and subtle vocal inflections were often conceived in real time, born from his deep understanding of the Joker's chaotic personality. A twitch of the shoulder, a lingering glance, or a sudden tilt of the head could transform the tone of a scene, injecting tension and unease in ways that scripted actions alone could not achieve. Crew members frequently reported being caught off guard by his sudden bursts of energy or unexpected reactions, noting that the unpredictability made every take feel alive, dynamic, and, at times, genuinely dangerous. This improvisational approach also influenced his interactions with other actors, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty that mirrored the Joker's own disruptive presence. By refusing to remain entirely predictable, Ledger forced those around him to react organically, which heightened the realism and emotional impact of every confrontation. Scenes pulsed with a sense of immediacy, as if the audience were witnessing chaos unfolding in real time rather than a carefully choreographed performance. Number 7. He did his own makeup for authenticity. Heath Ledger's approach to the Joker extended even to the character's makeup, which he chose to apply entirely on his own. This decision was deliberate. He wanted the appearance of the Joker to reflect the personality and psychology of the character, messy, unpredictable, and unsettling. Ledger rejected the idea of having professional makeup artists create a flawless look, reasoning that perfection would undermine the chaotic energy the Joker embodied. Instead, he embraced imperfection, applying the white face paint, black eye circles, and smeared red mouth with deliberate carelessness, allowing smudges, uneven lines, and irregular textures to form organically. The process of applying the makeup became part of Ledger's preparation ritual. He experimented with how much to layer, where to exaggerate the smears, and how to make the colors appear faded, worn, and lived in. The result was a face that felt as if it had been maintained in a state of continual use, rather than freshly applied for the sake of appearances. The jagged, roughly drawn smile, in particular, became a visual manifestation of the Joker's erratic nature, a permanent symbol of his twisted humor and disregard for societal norms. Crew members noted that the homemade application lent a disturbing authenticity to the character. Every imperfection in the makeup suggested a backstory. A man who had been on the streets, who cared nothing for societal conventions, and who took pride in his own chaotic presentation. Ledger's insistence on applying it himself allowed him to physically interact with the character even before stepping in front of the camera, reinforcing the Joker's presence and mindset from the moment filming began. The rough, worn appearance became as iconic as the character's laugh and voice, a visual shorthand for a man who existed entirely outside order and control, making the Joker terrifyingly real to both cast and audience alike. Number 6. Ledger triggered the hospital explosion early. The hospital scene in The Dark Knight stands out as one of the film's most memorable sequences, in large part due to Heath Ledger's commitment to unpredictability. Rather than following the planned timing exactly, Ledger made a bold decision on set. He pressed the detonator earlier than the cast and crew anticipated. This small act of improvisation had a profound effect, injecting the scene with an immediacy and tension that could not have been achieved through careful rehearsal alone. The spontaneous timing created genuine surprise among the actors, whose reactions, shock, fear, and disbelief were captured authentically on camera, heightening the sense of chaos and danger that the Joker brought into every environment he entered. Ledger's decision was deeply rooted in his understanding of the Joker's psychology. The character thrives on unpredictability, relishing the ability to disrupt expectations and manipulate those around him. By altering the timing of the explosion, Ledger translated this trait into physical reality, allowing audiences to feel the Joker's erratic energy rather than simply hearing about it. Crew members later remarked that the moment exemplified Ledger's unique ability to fuse preparation with instinct. He had studied every detail of the scene, but he was willing to bend the plan in the service of creating genuine tension and surprise. The hospital scene, with its sudden, unexpected detonation, became a vivid illustration of this principle. Ledger's spontaneity not only made the moment unforgettable for audiences, but also showcased his fearless dedication to inhabiting the Joker fully, ensuring that every action, no matter how small, reflected the character's chaotic brilliance and ability to control terror through sheer unpredictability. Number 5. Ledger modeled the Joker's voice on Tom Waits. Heath Ledger approached the Joker's voice with the same meticulous attention he applied to every other element of the character, treating it as a critical extension of the Joker's personality rather than merely a way to deliver lines. He sought a vocal quality that embodied instability and unpredictability, capable of shifting fluidly from playful amusement to cold menace. Ledger believed the voice needed to mirror the character's volatility. If the tone was static or overly polished, it would undermine the Joker's sense of danger and psychological complexity. To explore possibilities, Ledger drew inspiration from unconventional sources. One particularly influential reference was a 1970s interview with singer Tom Waits, whose gravelly, taunting cadence intrigued him. Waits' speech contained a musical, uneven rhythm, blending amusement, sarcasm, and menace in ways that seemed to toy with the listener's expectations. Ledger analyzed the minute variations in Waits' pitch, the irregular timing of his pauses, and the playful yet threatening inflection. He experimented with how these elements could be adapted to convey the Joker's mind, a combination of whimsy, mockery, and latent violence. Ledger spent weeks testing variations of the voice, recording himself repeatedly and scrutinizing the playback for subtle nuances. He experimented with laughter, how it could swell, taper, or break unexpectedly, matching it to shifts in emotion that reflected the Joker's unpredictable psyche. He also explored how changes in tempo or volume could enhance tension, making even ordinary phrases feel threatening or unsettling. Ledger examined the interplay between speech and body language, adjusting his voice to harmonize with physical movements, gestures, and facial expressions. Through constant rehearsal, improvisation, and experimentation, he honed a vocal performance that was multifaceted, volatile, and eerily natural. Each word, laugh, and pause was carefully calibrated to reflect the character's chaotic energy, creating a voice that felt as alive, spontaneous, and unpredictable as the Joker's mind itself. Number 4. Nolan allowed Ledger to operate the camera himself. Christopher Nolan's confidence in Heath Ledger's interpretation of the Joker extended to allowing the actor unprecedented creative control over the filming of the character's hostage video. Rather than relying on a traditional cinematographer or staged setup, Nolan permitted Ledger to handle both direction and camera operation himself. This trust reflected Nolan's belief that Ledger possessed an intuitive understanding of the Joker's psyche, capable of translating the character's chaotic energy into visual form with an authenticity that conventional filming could not achieve. Ledger approached the task with the same meticulous preparation that had defined every other aspect of his performance. He considered not only what the Joker would say, but also how he would frame himself, how the camera should tilt or shake, and how the visual composition could reinforce the character's unstable mental state. Every deliberate wobble of the camera, every jagged angle, and every awkward zoom was designed to communicate disorder and menace. Ledger's choices gave the footage a raw, almost amateurish quality that enhanced the sense of unpredictability, as if the Joker were recording the video impulsively rather than following a scripted professional plan. This hands-on approach allowed Ledger to merge performance and filmmaking, creating a seamless synergy between his understanding of the character and the visual storytelling. Crew members and cast alike noticed how the resulting footage differed dramatically from typical studio work. It felt intimate, immediate, and disturbingly personal. Nolan later praised the outcome, noting that Ledger instinctively grasped how the Joker would want to present himself to the world: boastful, chaotic, and unnervingly theatrical. By By directing the hostage video himself, Ledger extended the Joker's influence beyond acting into the realm of visual design, ensuring that every element, angle, focus, and movement reinforced the character's psychological complexity. The result was a sequence that felt uncomfortably real, a testament to Ledger's dedication to inhabiting every facet of the Joker's anarchic mind, and a striking example of the actor's ability to translate chaos into cinematic art. Number 3. His lip-licking habit originated from a makeup issue. Heath Ledger's dedication to embodying the Joker extended deeply into mastering the complexities of the character's prosthetic scars. The prosthetics, designed to create the Joker's grotesque, permanent grin, were notoriously difficult to wear, often loosening or shifting during speech. Rather than treating this as an obstacle, Ledger recognized the opportunity to enhance the character's unsettling presence. He experimented with ways to maintain the prosthetics while using their natural movement to his advantage. Occasionally, he would lick his lips or make subtle adjustments with his facial muscles mid-performance, producing unpredictable micro-movements that gave the Joker a sense of life beyond the actor's control. Christopher Nolan quickly noticed the unnerving effect this created on camera and encouraged Ledger to incorporate it fully into his performance. The looseness of the prosthetics, the tiny curls and shifts of the mouth, and the irregular movement across the scars produced a serpentine, constantly shifting quality. Even the smallest adjustments, slight wriggles or twitching around the edges of the grin, added tension to scenes, making the character appear more volatile and unpredictable. Ledger learned to synchronize these micro-movements with his dialogue and physical gestures, creating a seamless integration of facial instability and erratic behavior. These subtleties extended beyond the mouth. The way Ledger's eyes shifted in tandem with the scar movements, combined with rapid shifts in posture or sudden tilts of the head, contributed to a constantly evolving, dynamic presence. Crew members often commented on how hypnotic and unnerving it was to watch him perform. Even in quiet moments, the Joker seemed alive and threatening. The natural instability of the prosthetics, paired with Ledger's attention to minute details in expression, amplified the character's volatility, making his visage a key element in conveying tension, menace, and unpredictability on screen. Number 2. Ledger helped shape the Joker's philosophical chaos. While Christopher Nolan meticulously shaped the overarching narrative of The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger contributed heavily to the Joker's internal mindset, influencing the character far beyond scripted lines. Ledger approached the Joker not simply as a criminal or a villain, but as a figure who thrived on disruption, unpredictability, and the subversion of established norms. He offered insights into how the character might perceive the world, emphasizing instability, moral ambiguity, and a fascination with the fragility of human behavior. These concepts informed more than dialogue. They shaped gestures, timing, facial expressions, and interactions, turning the Joker into a living embodiment of chaos on screen. Ledger worked closely with Nolan and the writing team to refine specific lines, suggesting subtle adjustments that transformed conventional threats into expressions of unpredictability and controlled menace. Even seemingly casual remarks were shaped to reflect the Joker's capacity for sudden shifts between playfulness and intimidation. Ledger's input ensured that the character's philosophy translated consistently across scenes, giving the Joker an air of coherence amid apparent randomness. His suggestions emphasized that the character's violence and manipulation were never arbitrary. They were tools to provoke, destabilize, and unsettle, making each action feel purposeful despite the sense of disorder. Ledger's influence extended to physical performance as well. He considered how the Joker would move, pause, and react if he truly rejected conventional logic. Co-stars and crew noticed how these subtle details added layers to each scene, enhancing the unpredictability and tension without relying on overt theatrics. Ledger's collaboration ensured that the Joker's philosophy, speech, and physicality were inseparable, creating a performance where every word, glance, and gesture reflected a deeply considered approach to chaos and disruption. Number 1. Ledger was calm and friendly, off-camera. Despite the intensity and darkness of Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, he maintained an unexpectedly grounded and relaxed presence when off-camera. Cast members consistently noted how effortlessly he could switch from the chaotic, menacing energy of the character to a playful, approachable demeanor. Between takes, Ledger would joke with co-stars, engage in light-hearted banter, and occasionally skate around the set, bringing a tangible sense of levity to an otherwise intense production. These moments revealed his ability to create a clear boundary between the demands of the role and his personal interactions, ensuring that the Joker's malevolence never seeped into his real-life behavior. Ledger's capacity for compartmentalization was evident throughout filming. While cameras rolled, he fully inhabited the Joker, erratic, unpredictable, and psychologically intense. But as soon as Nolan called cut, he returned to being collaborative, friendly, and considerate toward the cast and crew. This duality made him both a remarkable performer and a reassuring presence on set. Crew members frequently remarked that his ability to balance intensity and approachability helped maintain morale during long, physically demanding, or emotionally charged scenes. Even the most draining sequences felt manageable with Ledger's playful interludes, which eased tension and fostered a positive working environment. His lightheartedness also appeared during preparation and rehearsal. Ledger would experiment with lines, expressions, or gestures in a spontaneous, playful manner, testing variations without pressure or expectation. Some of the Joker's most memorable idiosyncrasies, subtle twitches, unpredictable pauses, or fleeting facial expressions, originated from these offhand improvisations. His willingness to explore, joke, and test ideas freely allowed him to discover nuances that ultimately became integral to the character, reinforcing the Joker's erratic energy and giving the performance its distinctive, unsettling unpredictability. Ledger's dedication left an indelible mark on both the character and filmmaking. Can any actor fully capture the same terrifying, unpredictable brilliance that made his Joker unforgettable? Share your thoughts in the comments below.